Hello, this is Amy with Amy Astro. Thank you for watching my videos. If you like this video, please subscribe below and select the alert bell so you know when I upload new Astro videos. Like and share with your Astro friends, and you can find me on Facebook as Amy Astro, where I share my Astro-related adventures. Welcome back. This is part 3 of editing the Crab Nebula using a one-shot color camera. This video was requested via comments below by another person who wanted to know how to process a color image. So this is part 3 of a part 4 series. Be sure to like and subscribe and that alert bell so you know when I upload part 4, because you won't want to miss it, because I will take you through Lightroom and Photoshop also. So here we go, and let's get started on finishing this edit in PixInsight. Thank you for watching. Let's pick up where we left off with the last video. In the last video, we had just completed creating a range mask and adjusting the background, neutralizing it, and bringing the nebula out some more. So now it is time for us to work on the stars, and we want to create ourselves a star mask. Let's first start with making a clone copy of the main image. So click over here, and when it comes to an arrow, you can drag, pull it out, and let go, and you now have a duplicate copy of your previous image. You notice some things different than the last video. It is just because I had some technical difficulties, so I am doing this as an instant replay just for you. So now that we have our clone copy, we want to find a way to make the stars pop out and the nebulosity sink into the background so we can concentrate on just the stars. And what I have found is if you do the HDR Multiscale transformation on this clone copy, we can do just that. So the number of layers we're going to work with are going to be 3, and we're going to run through 2 iterations of this. Now at first when we run this, it's not going to be very pretty, so don't panic. There is a method to this madness. Alright, so this is what we've got. The nebulosity has sunk into the background some, and the stars are now jumping out. Now this is an image that we could actually work on to create our mask. So if we go back under Process, Mask Generation, we create a star mask. Okay, and what I do is I just use the default numbers and say Run. And what this is going to leave me with is just the brightest portions of the image. All right, so let's minimize our star mask, and this is the image that we've got left with. Not too bad, it's mostly the stars, but we're going to make this pop just a little bit more to make sure that we actually do have our stars. And we're going to do that with our histogram transformation. So let's open this up and give it a reset. It's star mask. Okay, let's get this straight here. So this is our star mask, and my dark, midtone, and light all on one screen. I'm going to take my midtone, and let's first turn on our live view. Let's not forget that one. Let's grab our midtone, and let's slide it over, and you're going to see these stars are starting to pop. Now you want these stars to come out, but you don't want to bring the noise out. So you can go too far, and you can see some of that's noise and some of that's stars. And those are really fat stars. I'm going to hit reset, and I'm just going to bring this back down, let's say about there. That'll work, and we're going to run it. Okay, so we're going to minimize the histogram. We'll close our live view. And here is our star mask. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this because now we need to do some pixel math. Okay, and over here on the right, we've got our pixel math ready to go. And we're going to use a single expression this time, but I like using the expression editor. It saves me a little bit of effort here. And over here are all the images that I can work with. So let's take our range mask, which double click it, and we're going to subtract our star mask, and by double clicking it, we'll say okay. Let's find our destination. We're going to generate an output. We're going to create a brand new image, and I want this image to be a grayscale image. So we'll choose that, and we'll say Run or Apply. We'll minimize this. Okay, this image we no longer need, so let's go ahead and trash it and get it off our screen. Okay. So this is the mask that we are left behind with. It's not an overly pretty mask, and really all that we want to work with here for this mask is this portion here. I would like to go through and delete all of these donuts. Now there's a couple ways that you can approach this, and I'm going to show you the PixInsight way, and then I'm going to show you the way that I actually do it because it's a lot easier. Okay, so I've got a dark section right here, and we're going to go to Process, and we're going to go to, let's find it, Painting, and Clone Stamp. Okay, let's give it a reset. I need to pick a source point. So if you click a point, nope. If we Command click a point, a dark point on our screen, and we stretch it out and click another spot, you can see wherever I start to paint now is going to turn black. And if we want, we can take this radius and let's bump it up to like 50 so you can see a better picture. So my X is my source and the big circle is what's getting written over. And we can go through and start to delete all these donuts. But you'll notice if I have my X over some white stars, I start to paint in new stars. And that's not what I want to do. See, if my X was over here, I just painted in a whole bunch of nebulosity. Not what I want. But if this was good, I would select the check. Okay, I'm going to delete this because I don't like it. Cancel it. And cancel the active clone stamp, yes. And it's back to normal. Okay, so now we need to take this image over to Photoshop so we can get rid of all of the outside stars and just reveal our nebulosity. So let's go to File, Save As. All right, here we go. And we want to make sure we save it as a TIFF file so Photoshop can work with it. And let's give this a file name of Pixel Math 2 because I already have a previous. Let's do Pixel Math 3 because I see I've got a 2 up there already. And let's do a save. And we want to make sure that we save it here as a 16-bit unsigned integer. At 32 and 64, Photoshop is unable to open this file. It will open it up at 8 if you choose, but I just leave it at 16 and say OK. Now it's saving our image. We go over here to Photoshop and we do a File, Open, and let's go find that Pixel Math image. And there it is, and say Open. And we're going to leave our color profile the same as it is, so just say OK. And over here on the background layer, we're going to double click this lock button so we can start working on this layer. I don't need to do anything fancy with this, so I'm just going to paint black over all of my donuts, and I'm going to leave whatever's in the nebula alone. So grab yourself a paintbrush, make sure that's black. Make sure your opacity and your flow are both at 100%. Use your square brackets to make the brush smaller or to make it larger. And you can make it pretty large here at first because we are literally just going to paint black on our background. And just be careful not to run over the nebula itself. And let's close this up a little bit more and paint around. Okay. And as you get closer to the nebula, if you want to be extra cautious, just lower your opacity some, make your brush a little bit smaller, and just gently paint out around the edges here, just in case there's some nebulosity out here that still wants to work with. And this is where I would leave the mask. So let's go back and do a File and a Save. And this is the mask I will use. Let's close it here and minimize our Photoshop. Okay, so now that we're back in PixInsight, let's open the image that we just modified. Let's do File, Open. Let's find our image and say Open. And there's our new mask that we get to work with. So what we need to do now is we need to attach this mask to our image. And let's do it the shortcut method. Hover over this identifier until it becomes an arrow. We'll drag, and then we'll drop it over here. You notice how my pointer became 2 squares? That's attaching the mask to the image. Let's minimize our mask right here, and let's check and make sure that our mask is on. Let's do Command or Control K, and there is our mask. So what we want is exactly what we see right now. We do not want to invert this mask. I'm going to do a Command or Control K just to get it out of my way. And what we're going to work on right now is our, let's see, what are we going to do? Oh, it's time for us to work on some saturation. We're going to work on just our nebulosity. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see what's going on. And we'll go back to our linear, multi-scale linear transformation. Let's give it a reset. And we need to add ourselves 8 layers. And down here on layer 5 is where we're going to start working on increasing the saturation. Now, I don't always do it here in PixInsight. Sometimes I choose to do all of my color modifications over in Photoshop. But I'm going to do as much as I can in PixInsight just so you can see what is possible. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. Okay, so we're going to go over here to layer 5, and we'll choose this Detail Layers Bias. And let's modify the number just a little bit. Let's change it to 0.15 and enter. And we'll go to layer 6, we'll do 0.15. Now if I chose a negative number, I'd be desaturating. So right now I'm saturating. And you can see I could take this all the way up to 15, which would be just crazy. Let's go ahead and let's do this one as 0.2. And we'll take layer 8 to be 0.2 also. Now we could do this under line view as a sneak peek preview, but it takes just as long to actually apply it. So I would much rather apply it and undo it if I'm not happy. Let's change the target from the RGB, and we're going to modify the chromiance component of this image. So let's go ahead and run it and see if we like it. If it's too much, we can make those numbers smaller. If it's not enough, we can make the numbers larger. And that's kind of cool. I think I'm going to leave it just like that. So let's go ahead and minimize this guy right here. Right now we could do some color saturation if we knew what colors we wanted to modify. But this is a little bit cumbersome to deal with. Let's see, what else can we do? Oh, right now we can actually work on pulling out some of the detail in our nebulosity with the HDR Multiscale transformation. So let's go ahead and open it and let's give it a reset. Now the number of layers is something that I play with frequently, but I like to start with about 8 layers just to see what it looks like. I only want to run this through one time. More than one, it tends to look a little funny. And we're going to modify to the lightness and to the lightness mask of the image. And let's run this. There it goes. All right, let's give it an undo and let's compare. There's before, a little bit flat and dull, and there's after. It's definitely got more pop to it. And that looks really nice. Let's do an undo real quick. And I'm going to grab my RGB when it's an arrow. I'm going to click, drag with the left button and let go. And I'm going to make a clone copy of this one and send it over here. Go back to this image and I'm going to redo my HDR. And that was done with 8 layers. Let's see what it looks like to do 10 layers on the clone copy. And then from there we can decide which one we want to work with. Now let's up to 10 layers. Make sure I'm highlighted onto that image and say run. Let's see what it looks like there. I play with anywhere between 6 and 10 layers. Now look at this 10, it really kind of blew things out is what it did. Let's move this over. If we were going to compare the two, this one is a lot brighter and I'm not really seeing where it's adding any improvement to my image. I think I'm going to stick down here with the 8 layers. But it's always good to try, you know. You've got 10 layers, you got 8 layers, then I'd go and I'd do another one at 6 layers to see which one I liked best, and I'd use that one. Let's go ahead and close this out. Yes, I don't want the clone copy. Okay, so now, let's see. Okay, the next thing I could address is I could address some sharpening in here, but as you can see, there's still a fair amount of noise, and if I sharpened in here, I would probably be sharpening more noise than nebulosity. So I'll wait and I'll do all of that in Photoshop. Let's shrink that back up some, and let's remove our mask, but save it for later because we may want it again. Let's remove the mask. All right, Control K a couple times, make sure the mask is definitely not on there. And let's do some overall adjustments to the whole image. Let's see. Let's start with a curves transformation. Open that up and let's get ourselves a live view. And once again, we would like to create 2 small points here just by left clicking on them. And let's give ourselves another S curve. As we brighten it up, you can see what we're doing to the whole image. We're brightening things up. And we can take the lower side and pull it down, and we can darken things up. But remember, the whole goal here is to be gentle and not go too over the top. And let's turn the live view off and on a couple times and see if we like what we just did. There's before and there's after. We've got before and after. And I think the dark went just too dark. And let's bring the light down just a little bit. Let's see, before and after. Just a little bit more. Oops. And change our scale here when that happens. There. I think I'm going to leave that here. But all of this is your personal taste. You do what makes you happy. Okay, so this was the RGB that affected the lightness and the darkness. And I'm going to go over here to saturation. And I'm going to affect just the overall saturation of the whole image. I'll create a point with my left mouse, and I'll drag it up and then watch it go psychedelic on me. Let's see. And we just play with this to see what we like and what we dislike. Let's turn off and on. That's kind of cool. Let's leave it there and let's apply. And we'll minimize this and let's close our curves transformation. Now, what I would typically do if I was working on some larger scale nebulas is I would run the dark structure under this script, utilities. There's a dark structure enhance, and I would use the default. But this particular image doesn't have any real dark structure in there, so I don't think that would add any value. So what I would do now is I would come back and work on just the stars. We've got our star mask right here, hiding underneath everything. And what I would like to do is to put this mask over here on my image. Let's minimize him. And let's do a Control Command K and just check. Okay, so right now, the stars are selected and nothing else is. Let's do a Command K and get that out of our way. And let's go back to our curves transformation. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here, because the goal of this is to affect my stars. And you can see I've already got some noise and some funky colors going on. Let me get one in view for you to see. See, I've got some pixelating here. I've got to be careful with this so that I don't get too carried away, but I can completely fix this in Photoshop. And once I show you how easy it is, you're going to be amazed. All right, let's zoom in. Let's get over here to the star area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the saturation of the stars, and let's give them a good color boost. So let's go to our curves transformation, give it a reset, We can do a live view. All right, and we're still on the saturation. I'm gonna click a point there, and let's just bring it up. And do we, so, a little slow, but look at all that crazy color I've got going on here. Let's click it and let's bring that down just a bit. Give the computer time to catch up with us. Now that's kind of cool. I've got some red around here. Now some people like colors in their stars, some people don't. Personal preference. If you like it, I like it. That's how it works around here. Let's turn this off. Let's turn this on. And that looks pretty good, but I think I'm going to take it down just a little bit more. It was a little crazy. Let's turn it off. Let's turn it on. I'll give it just a little bit more. Why not? That works for me. And let's say apply. All right, we can close this out. Close our real preview. And let's remove our mask. So this is my Crab Nebula, and this is where I would leave him in PixInsight. I would continue on with this image by bringing him into Lightroom and doing some modifications there on a grand scale, and then I'd bring him over to Photoshop, and I would handle some of the graininess inside of the nebulosity here, and then I would probably add some spotted contrast just to improve things. And then I'm known for adding a little bit of a vignette as personal preference because my subject is in the center and I want to bring your eyes into the center. Please leave me comments below. I read all of them and I appreciate all of them. If you see a step that I could improve, please tell me. I am up for learning something new. Like most of us, I have pieced together all of my knowledge from watching other YouTube videos, other tutorials, and miscellaneous books. And I'm struggling finding one that gives me a full picture from start to finish. So I had to come up with this recipe, following a bunch of other people. So if you notice something that's just not quite right, tell me. I'm all ears. I'm happy to listen and happy to give it a try. Stay tuned for part 4, which will be the conclusion of this 4-part series where we have been editing the Crab Nebula. I appreciate your time and sticking with me this long, and I promise you I won't disappoint in the next video. So until next time, this is Amy with Amy Astro, and I'm wishing you clear skies.